Are you gifted and talented? It's a really good question because sometimes we look at Olympic athletes and we say, now they're gifted and talented, the 0.00001% of athletes. Or we see somebody that is the latest sensation on America's Got Talent or the new person on Disney's High School Musical, and we say, now that's talent at 12 or 14 years old. Or maybe if you're cerebral, you love to see that young girl won the spelling bee championship because she can spell every word in the history of the world. Those people are such a minority, and they are so spectacular in everything they do that about the only thing we know to do is look at them and say, wow, that's incredible, that's unbelievable. And then, of course, there's this little quiet voice that begins saying, and I'm nothing like that. And I will never be anything like that. And what does that say about me? Am I kind of a worthless human that just sits around like a blob because I'm not that kind of gifted and talented? But what if when you and I look at those kind of rare but meaningful successes, we're actually reading the wrong playbook for our lives? What if you're actually taking cues from the wrong God? What if there is a God who sees you completely differently? What if this God has designed you with gifts and talents? What if this God has designed you with gifts and talents to be used to serve other people? Well, that's a question I want to talk to you about today. Are you gifted and talented? Let me give you some answers. I hope these will resonate with you. First, gifts and talents come from beyond ourselves and are given to everyone. When I say they come beyond ourselves, of course you know that in the sense that when you were born, there's something in you from your DNA. But I'm saying that you didn't go work for that. I think it actually comes from beyond you. When I say given to everyone, I mean no one's the exception. Not you, not me. Everyone gets gifts. Second thing I'd say about gifts and talents is that they are tailor-made for you. Now, when you have an area in your life that you think, that might be a talent, that might be a gift, that might be a capacity, of course it's good to explore it. It's good to practice it. It's good to try to perfect it if you can and try to make a mark. And and if you succeed, it's wonderful. Of course, you may not succeed. And so I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in college, first year was a good one, kind of finding my place. There was such a thing as a sophomore slump. And my girlfriend had broken up with me, and I was trying to figure out what girls were interested in. Quite honestly, I was striking out time after time. And so trying to find my place on campus, wanted to be popular. And I noticed that all the popularity wave when I was in college were athletes and musicians. Now, no doubt you expected the athlete piece because that's at every D1 college. The school I went to the one of the major bowls that year, so there were all sorts of big athletes there on campus. And at 5'11", 175, it was pretty clear to me that I was never going to have a future in sports despite whatever I might have had in the past. Well, what was left was music if I wanted to be famous, because there were students at campus when Denise and I were there at Baylor in the late 1970s. There were students who went on to win Grammy Awards for their singing style and Dove Awards, just incredible musicians. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should try music. It's kind of odd looking back now since I work with a whole lot of great musicians at the church where I'm one of the senior pastors. And I know what great musicians are now. But at the time, listen, I was just grabbing for straws. So I was a decent guitarist. I could play pretty much anything on the guitar that didn't take me too much into Hotel California. As long as it was mostly just rhythm guitar, chord after chord, I could do it. I had an average to below average voice, but I was an above average leader. So I got some other musicians. I started a music group. We played at times for a few dozen, for a few hundred, a couple of times for a few thousand, believe it or not. But I knew that it was my lack of vocal talent that was holding us back. So I began taking voice lessons. Yeah, I was the guy that tried to see if I could make it. And here was essentially the wash, rinse, repeat cycle. I practiced. I sang for the teacher. He was a graduate student who was one of those heroes on campus, and a beautiful, easy on the eyes accompanist who was also one of those musical heroes. And the approach was as simply this. I practiced, I gave them my best, and everyone agreed I sucked. Then I tried it again, and I practiced. I sang for them. Everyone agreed I sucked. Finally, they said, hey, we want you to sing for a couple hundred people just solo over here in this setting one weekend. I tell you, I almost wet my pants. I said, I cannot do that. And we all agreed that the greatest possible option would be for me to give up on my little small music dream. And I finally came home to how God made me. I just want to tell you, that was a freeing thing at the age of 20. I don't mean it's the only time I've ever done it, but that was a turning point for me. Because it wasn't just, was it music or something different? It was, who am I? And am I pleased with the way God made me? And do I want to use it for His glory? So I knew then that I was a people person who loved connecting other people to Jesus Christ. I wasn't a musician behind a microphone or behind a keyboard or guitar somewhere. I was kind of a counselor and a teacher. That was incredible relief, I promise you. And the lesson that I offered you today is, you don't get to choose your gifts. Again, I believe God gives you your gifts. If you don't believe in God, you still know that your gifts came to you before really you were even born, right? They're in your DNA. And God created you for gifts that fit you and that fit his purposes. So I hope you don't envy people like I did when I was in my 20s. I hope you can release that and just be thankful for who you are, how God made you. Just think about the human body. You know, when you really are hot, middle of July, and you want a glass of water, let me ask you, which of your body parts is more important right here? Is it your eyes that help you locate the refrigerator and the ice maker? Is it your feet that walk you over there? Is it your hands that reach out and grab it? Is it your mouth that receives that? Is it your tongue that feels that cool water in the cold ice? Is it your stomach? What is it? Which is most important body part? When you want to slake your thirst, huh? How do you rate them? They're all equal. You know that and I know that. And that's true for you and I as individuals too. Your gifts aren't better or worse than anyone else's. We actually all need each other. So there's no need to be jealous. Every body part is important, and every person in terms of gifts and talents is important. And here's the last thing. Gifts and talents are intended to help others. You know, they're not really for your sake or for my sake. They're for the sake of others. Now, I know that America's Got Talent and American Idol and everything else would suggest that your goal is 15 minutes of fame for you. But I bet that a lot of those singers, that's really not their goal. I bet their goal is to sing to make other people happy. So I ask you, here's an example of people serving. Have you faced an illness or surgery or maybe a new birth in your family recently? Did a neighbor or coworker volunteer to start up a meal train for you? And they just had people signing up and bringing you meals, every 2 or 3 days. And you got more meals, more food than you ever thought. You were looking for extra deep freeze space to store it. Here's the point. You were on the receiving end of someone who served you. They didn't do it for themselves. They did it for you. Has your car ever broken down and all of a sudden someone stopped to help you? This happened to my wife and me just a couple years ago. We were on one of the most important roads in a little town south of us, little town, 500,000 people. And as we were driving along this road that just had nice hotels and nice restaurants on either side, heading to our reservation, all of a sudden I heard that terrible clunk, clunk, clunk as the car lurched. I said, Denise, it's a flat tire. Pulled over to the right, got up on the curb a little bit. I thought, okay, here I am in nice clothes. I'll just get out, I'll sweat, I'll change a tire. I've done it a dozen times. And we'll have to cancel it or I'll go in smelling like the north end of a southbound mule. At any rate, I open up the trunk and I hear a voice behind me. And this guy says, need any help? Well, I thought it was an angel. It was. I turned around. It was a guy who was kind of in workman's clothes and he had a big old dually truck he pulled up behind mine. I said, sure. He gets out. He pulls out a hydraulic pump and hydraulic jack and jacks my car up. And then I would say in under 5 minutes, lug nuts were off, my spare was on, lug nuts were back on, and he had disappeared almost as quickly as he got there. And all I could say is, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we went and enjoyed our dinner without me grossing my wife out or being turned down because of my bad aroma. Are you with me? We use our gifts to help others, not to fly high on an ego trip. And so I want to ask you a couple questions today. First, do you know that you are gifted and talented? I hope you do because you are, but if that's new, think about it. Do you know what your gifts and talents are? Are there any occasions in life where you've actually served others and you make things better? If you do, you're probably exercising and working in the gifts and talents area. Are you using your gifts to serve others? Now, there's always a temptation to be egotistical, but that really is a dead-end street. I've tried it too many times and it just does nothing. It's the serving of others that brings them and us happiness. And finally, have your gifts and talents become an anchor point of your identity? Your identity is made up of your DNA, your heredity and ancestry. It's made up of your experiences. It's made up of your capacities. But it's also made up of all the gifts and abilities that you have in your life. And I hope you'll allow those to become a point of identification for you. You have gifts and talents to serve others. Don't miss out. Enjoy it. I'm glad that you watched today. Thanks so much. If you like it, be sure and give me a thumbs up. And for more content like this, just click subscribe. You'll be notified when more videos release. In the meantime, check out our channel. Talks on marriage, on sex, on parenting, on more. If it's important to you, we're dealing with it. Thanks. Have a great day.